We're in the third row of the large Naktuinbouw variety testing greenhouse. 10 examples of what should become a new variety of Cucumis sativus, the cucumber. Roelof, our breeder, brought us here 6 weeks ago for variety testing. He's introduced a slightly bitter taste.
Bitter is better.
Because that's appreciated in Asian cuisine. He also made us resistant to the cucumber mosaic virus. Naktuinbouw is now investigating whether we are indeed immune to that virus, and variety researchers accurately compare our leaves, stems and fruits, with descriptions and photographs from a huge book with varieties information. If we are recognized as a new variety, the Council will grant Roelof plant breeders' rights.
Yeah!
After that, Roelof wants to ensure market access to countries where he wants to export our seeds. Those countries want to be sure there are no diseases in the seeds. That inspection process is also conducted via Naktuinbouw. This morning, Roelof came to see how we were doing. I heard him tell the variety researcher that his grandfather was there at the beginning of what is now called Naktuinbouw. Grandfather was a cucumber grower and had the greatest difficulty in getting reliable propagating material. He would never forget the fatal March, the 7th, 1932. The day when 50 cucumber plants of a new variety were delivered. 2 weeks later, his entire market garden was infected with the cucumber mosaic virus. And the following week, his neighbour came calling. His plants had also become deceased. Quite a few breeders had that kind of problems, which is why the horticulture sector set up an inspection service. That, as a kind of market overseer, started to monitor that seeds and plant material were reliable and healthy. It started with vegetables, and later on fruit trees and flowers and plants were added. This worked out so well that later the role of the market overseer was laid down in law. And because the horticultural sector set up the standard even higher, and European legislation also demanded increasingly higher standards, the quality of Dutch seed and plant material went up significantly. This is precisely why Dutch companies were able to capture the leading position in global horticulture. In the meantime, I was keeping my eyes and ears open. Yesterday, a rose plant had to go to the Naktuinbouw plant doctor because of a bacterial infection, presumably Ralstonia. This morning, 3 apple trees came back from the Naktuinbouw CSI lab. They can follow the trail of a disease outbreak all the way back to its origin.
Yep.
So to the place in the chain where a pathogen crept into a tree for the first time. But the most interesting conversations I have here is with the sprouts. Because of the way they grow, they can look in all directions, which makes their observations extra valuable. According to them, there will be more changes in horticulture in the coming years than in the previous 100 years. Variety researchers will soon know the corresponding DNA profile for each plant characteristic. Then they'll know exactly where in my DNA the bitter taste is located, and which piece of DNA makes me resistant to the cucumber mosaic virus. This makes variety testing faster, and it makes it easier to identify a breach of the breeder's rights. Furthermore, it seems that drones are being developed which can recognize crops from the air, identify varieties, and even detect diseases.
But I feel okay.
Before you see the plant is deceased. There will be more and more robots that can plant, care for, and harvest crops. Sensors collecting data with the corresponding GPS coordinates will be added to all these new machines. You can bundle all that data together to extract information and discover patterns in it. In 10 years, it will be known which crops have been grown during those 10 years in each plot in the Netherlands, what the yield has been, which diseases have occurred, how much rain has fallen, which plant protection products have been used, where the harvest went, etc. Where necessary, anonymously, Naktuinbouw makes its own information available to the entire sector, so that everyone can benefit from it. This makes Naktuinbouw even more explicitly the knowledge and expertise centre for the sector. So in the coming years, at Naktuinbouw, they will learn how to operate drones, what is possible with big data, and how they can get the maximum out of DNA techniques. It will also become more customer-oriented. Yesterday, Roelof was complaining he always has to fill in the same data for Naktuinbouw on different forms, which is all apparently meant for another department. Naktuinbouw thinks that should be better. During my stay here, it's become clear that interesting times are on the way for the horticultural crops. The world's population is growing, so there's an increasing demand for us. We'll be grown more sustainably, with fewer crop protection products, less water and less energy. My descendants will more often be grown locally, even in closed buildings on the outskirts of the city, more sustainably, fresher and tastier. Beautiful times are also on the way for flowers, plants and trees. Cities want to become greener. Roelof was in Paris, and look at what he photographed there. In this way, Naktuinbouw is becoming increasingly stronger in this new world.